Afternoon. We are back with another Bible study. This is Pastor Slade, Potter's House Ministry in Perry, Florida. We're back with another Bible study and hope that you have paper and pencil this afternoon. I thank God for you and your household this afternoon, for you and your family. Let me just say this to you. I always give you something before we start the Bible study. And what I want to give you this afternoon is to stay faithful to God. Stay faithful to God. If you're faithful to God, God is going to be faithful to you. God is faithful at all times. But you stay faithful to God. Do those things in the sight of God that are pleasing to Him. And what would happen is you start seeing your household overflow with the things of God. What I mean about that, overflowing, I mean the blessings of the Lord would overtake you. That's what God wants to happen to you because you're obedient to Him. I want you to be obedient to God. Study your word, stay in your word. Make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. Because if you do what you're supposed to do, God will do what He's supposed to do. God is a covenant God. So let's get into the Bible study. I'm thanking God for allowing me to come into your home this afternoon. And we're going to see what God is talking about. We've been talking about rejoicing and thanksgiving. We've been talking about those things, and we want to continue on that line, train of thought this afternoon. And the train of thought I want you to write down is rejoice. How do we rejoice? We need to be rejoicing. And the word rejoice means a feeling of great delight. So I'm delighted in what God is doing in my life. I'm truly delighted. And so if I'm delighted, I'm going to rejoice in that. That does not mean, hear me good, saints, that does not mean everything is 100% all the time. But the thing about it is, it's more positive going on in your life than it is negative. We allow the negativity to override the positive, and when we should not allow the negative to override the positive. God is a positive God. We do some things, or some things come into our lives that's not pleasant to us or not pleasing to us. That means this is the end. This is this is an opportunity for you to learn and to grow and to be able to overcome the obstacles that are in your life. So then you're going to be grateful. And so the thing about it is, be grateful for what God is doing for you now. So grateful is showing thanksgiving and expressing appreciation. Write this down. So grateful is showing thanksgiving and expressing appreciation. So I appreciate what God is doing now in my life. See, I'm not looking 3 years down the road or 3 years from here, from this date, and saying, well, I'm going to accomplish this, I'm going to accomplish this. I can say that, but let's just be thankful for what God is doing for us now. And so let's just run down the list and see some things before we get into, see some things you should be thankful for. One of the things you should be thankful for is your salvation. God gave you salvation through grace. You ought to be thankful for salvation. Because the greatest gift that God can give you is the gift of salvation. That means you're going to be with God for eternity. And you have that gift of salvation that He gave you. Not that you earned it, He gave you the gift. All you had to do is to reach out and receive it. Now, since you had the gift, you ought to rejoice and be thankful that God have given you that gift. Now, the gift came to you free, but Jesus paid a price for that gift on Calvary for you. So then He gave that to you. You didn't have to earn it. He gave it to you, and He gave it to you on Calvary when He shed His blood on Calvary for the remission of your sin. So when He did that for the remission of your sin, that means you don't have any sins. You're not carrying any sin. He's a sin barrier, so He's taking the sins off of you, putting them on Himself. And you mean to tell me we can't be thankful? We should be thankful for that, our salvation. Number 2, write this down. You got a place to live. You're not homeless. So you're not homeless. You ought to be thankful. You ought to be rejoicing that you're not homeless. We're talking about rejoicing this evening. So you're talking about rejoicing. You're talking about a feeling of great delight, a feeling of great admiration. So then you're not homeless. There's some people that are homeless, but I'm talking to you. Even if you are homeless, let me talk to you here. Even if you are homeless, you serving a God that owns everything. You serving a God that wants you to have the necessary things in life to make you fruitful and multiply. So that there's enough homes that are vacant. God can give you a home. God can give you a place to live. You say, well, I'm homeless. Here's the thing about it. You got to operate in God by faith. So if you're homeless, do something. Pray. Do something. Faith without works is dead. So if you got faith in God's going to help you, so you got to do something. You got to get up and do something. You got to get a job. You got to do something that would help you to get back on your feet. You need to talk with somebody that can counsel you to help you to get back on your feet. But I'm talking about the ones that have a home this evening. You ought to be grateful. You ought to be jumping up. You got a roof over your head. You might not own the space, but you're renting the space, or you're renting it, and it's yours for the duration of your lease. So then you ought to be rejoicing. You are not homeless. There's some people are completely homeless. So you ought to be rejoicing and giving God thanksgiving for that. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about rejoicing in the Lord. Number 3, you have food and clothing. You have food and clothing. There's some people don't have food and clothing. You should be rejoicing that you have food and clothing. And you ought to be rejoicing you got food, you have clothing, you got more than enough. That means you can give someone something. Let me just throw this at you. You could clean your closet out today, and you could help someone that doesn't have the clothes that you have. You could help someone. If you want to give canned goods, you can give canned goods away. They have a rally where they collect canned goods. You can give canned goods to the shelter. You can do things like that if you want to do things like that. You can give your clothes to someone. You got clothes you can't even wear. But why are you keeping them? You're keeping them because this is something you lack, but you can't wear it. So you might lack it, but you can't wear it then. So if you're lacking, you can't wear it, it's no good to you. So give it to someone. Donate to someone. So you blessed to have food and clothes. I'm going to give you one more. Number 4, you ought to be grateful for your family, and for your family that loves you and care about you. You ought to be grateful for that. You ought to be grateful for the children that you raised. You ought to be grateful for that. You ought to be grateful for the kids that they went to school. You ought to be grateful for that. You ought to be grateful that they got a roof over their head, a place to lay down, transportation. You should be grateful for that. You should go before God and say, God, I thank you for my family. You should be grateful that you are able to love and they're able to love you back. We're talking about Thanksgiving this evening. We're rejoicing. So that you have something to rejoice in. So rejoicing is a feeling of great delight. I mean, you are expressing appreciation. So I'm gonna express my appreciation to God. I'm gonna say, God, I thank you for this. I'm not gonna take it for granted. I say, God, I thank you for this. I thank you for my life. I thank you for my health. I thank you for my strength. I thank you for my family. These are the things you need to be saying on a day-to-day basis. You ought to get up in the morning and say, God, I thank you. I thank you. Because things could be worse. You say, well, I'm going through this and going through that. Stop, breathe, sit down a moment and say what you're going through. You're going through something that really not a tragic. We make it a tragic, but it's really not a tragic. You say, well, I want a new car. You have a car. Is it running? Yes. So then you want a new car. Nothing wrong with buying a new vehicle. But what I'm saying, rejoice because God have given you that transportation. Rejoice in it. Be thankful that he gave you that. And if you can afford another one, be thankful that God is doing that for you. Do not take it for granted that you are doing this on your own. You are not your own. You've been bought with a price. You can't do things on your own anymore. You've been bought with a price. So the Bible is telling us to rejoice. So now I want you to go over to Psalms 118 verse 24. Psalm 118 and verse 24. It said that this is the day that the Lord has made. This is the day. Look who made the day now. This is the day that the Lord has made. This is no day that you conjured up or something that you made on your own. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice, watch this, and be glad in it. What is it? That day that God made. So then God didn't make a bad day. We choose to allow some things to come into our life. We make a choice to allow some things or some people to come into our life. And what they do is they spoil the day because we allow them to spoil the day. We allow them to say something out of character to us, spoil the day. We do some things, spoil the day. So we need to be mindful of what we are doing on a day-to-day basis, because the enemy do not want you to be in a place where you rejoice, where you get up and say, God, I thank you for this day. I thank you for, I'm going to rejoice in this day. I'm not going to let anything take this away from me. You know what? God gave you the day. This is the day. Whatever day it is in your life, this is the day that the Lord made the day. So that God made that day, and that day is fitted around you. So if that day is fitted around you, you operate in that day. It's nothing in the day that is bad. There's some things going to come after you, but we are in warfare at all times. Warfare is around us. Everywhere we go, we are operating in warfare. So then what we have to do is, you have to learn to look over some things. You have to learn to go around some things. Everything that is in your way is not an obstacle. We make it an obstacle because we want to examine it. You don't have to examine it. There's some things you can just leave where they are, move on, and you keep your day and you keep your sanity in that day, and you move forward and don't let the devil spoil your day. Now watch this here. Paul, we're going to talk about Paul here in a few minutes. Paul now is in jail. Now, here's the thing about it. Paul is in jail. David now was talking about this in the song, but Paul now is in jail. And Paul is in jail, and watch what he's doing here. He's in jail, and he's rejoicing in the Lord. He's not saying, oh, woe me, and all of that. I'm in jail, and I've been working for the Lord, now I'm in jail, and all of that. Those that love the Lord will suffer persecution. So he understands this is just a part of the persecution that he's going through, but that don't take my joy. So what it is, I'm in jail. But I'm in jail, but the thing about it is, I have my freedom. His freedom is in the Lord. You understand what I'm saying here? His freedom is in the Lord. Because in jail, he's writing a letter and to the Philippians. You know, he's writing this letter, and so, but he's in jail. He's in a Roman jail. But he's writing, and the word of God is going forward to help people to rejoice. See, all the time, it's not left up to us at all times that we always in the light and everything go our way, but we can still rejoice. There's some things not going my way, but I see it going the way that my children want things to go, my wife wants things to go, my friends want things to go, the people in ministry with me, or people at the Potter's house, I see things going good in their life. So then what I do, I take out a moment and I rejoice with them. In rejoicing with them, I fulfill I fulfill the mandated in my life to start rejoicing. Because I'm not just rejoicing because I'm getting something. I'm rejoicing because you are getting something. I'm rejoicing because you being blessed. So I'm going to rejoice with you. So then what God is saying is, don't let anything spoil your day. If something is not going right in your day, somebody come to you and say, well, look what the Lord did. Rejoice with them. Don't hate on them. You don't hate on people. You rejoice with them, and you just keep rejoicing. Every day is a day to rejoice. Not tomorrow or the end of that, but every day is a day to rejoice. You have something to rejoice for. You have something to be happy about every day. You got up in the morning, you breathe. You was breathing through the night, didn't know it when you were sleeping, but when you woke up that morning, you took your first breath, you know that was God. You knew that was God. You ought to be thankful for that day, because he made the day for you to be present in that day. You're not absent from that day. You could be absent from that day, but you're not absent from that day. This is the day that the Lord made, and you're going to rejoice. You're going to rejoice in it because you was part of that day. So then he's not excluding you from that day. So you part of the day. So Paul said here in Philippians 4:4, it said this here. He said, rejoice in the Lord always. Rejoice. Watch what he said. Even though I'm going through something, he said, rejoice in the Lord always. And then he turns around and he's repeated and he said, again, I said, rejoice. I said, rejoice. A feeling of gratitude. He said, I'm grateful for whatever God is doing. I don't count this because I'm going to jail. I don't count this is something that I'm not able to fulfill or able to go through. I count this as a blessing. Just what he's saying. It took me a long time to get to that point. That you mean to tell me it's not going my way and I'm gonna still rejoice? But it took me it took me some time to get there. You have to come out of self and realize that everything is not going to be roses for you every day, but somebody else is having a day in the Lord. They are being fulfilled. So I just rejoice with them. I don't lose the hope of not rejoicing because I can rejoice with you. And every day is not going to be a day of roses. We understand that. But every day ought to be a day of rejoicing. Because watch this. When I get up in the morning, I have a roof over my head. I could rejoice about that. You got some finances. I should be able to rejoice about that. Your wife is doing good. Rejoice about that. Your husband is doing good. Rejoice about that. Your kids are doing good. Rejoice about that. Your grandkids are doing good. Rejoice about that. Your car is running. Rejoice about that. Food in the refrigerator. Rejoice about that. So then you have something to rejoice about every day. Ain't better just stop drinking. Uncle John stopped smoking crack. So then you ought to be rejoicing. It don't have to be an outward expression to everybody. It can be an inner expression to you, from you to God. But it can also be an outer expression. So if somebody did that for your family, they stopped doing this or stop doing that, you ought to be rejoicing with them and giving them the hope that they need, that they can continue to rejoice in those things. Amen. So let me show you something here now. And so Paul now is reminding us about how to rejoice, and what he's talking about, rejoice again. I want to go to Isaiah 61 and 10. Isaiah 61 and 10. We talking about rejoicing here. Oh my God. In Isaiah 61 and 10, it says this. It says, I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. This is what Isaiah said. I'm going to not just rejoice, I'm going to greatly rejoice in the Lord. I'm going to make it big. I'm going to show him that I appreciate him. I'm going to let you know that I appreciate God. I'm rejoicing. Some people say, well, you showing off because God did this for you. You're showing off because God did this. No, I'm rejoicing in the Lord, and I'll let you know why I'm rejoicing. God did this for me. God blessed me in this. He did this for me. He saved me out of my sins. He did this. That's not bragging, my beloved. That's just letting you know who God is, and I appreciate who the God is in my life. They think you blessed. Well, I mean, they think you are bragging about something. Well, let me show you this. You ought to be bragging on God. You should be bragging on God. That is the greatest thing that ever happened to you. And if you don't brag on that, I don't understand it. Your salvation that he gave you through Jesus Christ on the cross, if you ain't bragging in that, something is wrong. Everybody else can brag, but people don't want the church people to brag on anything, to uplift, to make something great, or magnify. The Bible says, oh, magnify the Lord with me. See, we ought to do that. Let's magnify the Lord together. So not making the Lord big, but what God is doing is big in our lives. And so then we ought to be magnifying the thing that God is doing. You take the drug dealer, embezzler, or anything like that. All of them, what they do with the money, what they do with their reward, they want you to see their rewards. So then they want you to see that I bought this car, I bought this hotel, I bought this condominium, I bought this here. And I see, in other words, they're showing off what they have received, whether it's legal or illegal. So then, why can't we show the world who God is and how big he is? That his promise that he made to you is true. So Isaiah began to say this in Isaiah 61:10. He said, I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. Not just a little bit, but greatly, great rejoice in the Lord. I'm going to make it big. He said, my soul, my inner man, shall make a joyful boast in the God. And he said this, for he had clothed me. Watch what he says here now. He have clothed me with what? The garment of salvation. That's what we were talking about again. So God done reclothed me. He gave me a bath. We were washed in his blood, removed from the filth of the world, and he reclothed me, watch this here, with the garment of salvation. So now, why you can't brag? He has covered me with what? The robe of righteousness. He, look here, covered me with a robe of righteousness. And you know, in the Old Testament, when they would robe you, it was for purpose. Everybody didn't have an exclusive robe. So then you had a robe and you were robed for something. It was a special occasion. So he said, I got this special occasion in my life. See, he had covered me with the robe of righteousness. So he covered me with his righteousness. Let me throw this at you. He covered me with his righteousness. That was his righteousness that he put on me. I didn't have any righteousness of my own. In other words, I was way beyond the righteousness of God. The Bible said in Romans 3:23, so all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I have fallen short of the glory of God. But because he have robed me in his righteousness. And he said, watch this here, as a bridegroom decked himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorned herself with her jewels. In other words, he made me to be something when I was nothing. So if he made me to be something when I was nothing, I ought to rejoice. I ought to rejoice gratefully and give him the thanksgiving that he needs. Let me just say this in closing. You ought to be so grateful that you're living in the times that you're living now. That God is doing what he's doing for you now. The world have their system. The world have its own system. The kingdom have its own system. Operate in the system of the kingdom. And you don't have to worry about those things that are going on in the world. That don't mean that we exclude ourselves from the world. It means then what we are doing, we are going to gravitate to the things of God. We are not going to be consumed by the things of the world. We're going to rejoice. We're going to be glad in this day that God made. And we're just going to tell God, thank you for who you are and for what you are doing. I thank God for you listening today, and I hope you got good understanding today about rejoicing. And we'll be back here next week with another message to bless you and your house. This is Pastor Slade, Potter's House Ministry, Perry, Florida. Perry, Florida. Be blessed in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.